I am the Reverend William Levwood. My pronouns are he and him. I'm affectionately known as Rev Lev, and I'm so fortunate to be the minister here at Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church. And I'm so happy that you decided to join us this morning. If you're in person, a reminder to silence your phone. And whether you're joining us in person or online, we'll center ourselves for worship as we do every Sunday by taking a deep breath together. We open and welcome to the ancestral people of this land, acknowledging that our church, like all of Burke, rests on the unceded territory of the Manahoac tribe of the Great Sioux Nation. We seek healing and the realization of justice with the people of this land who live on and their descendants, the present-day members of the Monacan Indian Nation, the Patawomic Indian Tribe of Virginia, and the Piscataway Indian Nation. We honor the ancestors as we move toward healing so that all together shall one day know full justice.
Bright morning stars are rising, bright morning stars are rising, bright morning stars are rising, day is a-breaking in my soul.
Spiritual development, and to also let people know that there are resources in the carts over there. So the theme is weaving. We've had someone...
Let's hear it for weaving.
Thankfully, we have an expert who has clearly contributed to this. So weaving is considered a spiritual exercise because its repetitive movements can lead to a meditative and focused flow state, similar to practices in Zen Buddhism or Hinduism. And this focused state can lead to a sense of peace and bliss. I know also for children and adults who may have a little bit of ADHD, it also can help with concentration. The act of weaving provides a way to connect the mind and body. The process can help individuals connect with their inner selves, cultivate patience, and process emotions. It encourages the weaver to be present, focus on the physical sensations, and observe their thoughts without judgment, which can be a great way to process both anxiety and stress. Many cultures view weaving as a form of prayer, a way to bring harmony and a physical manifestation of spiritual beliefs, where each thread carries intention. Now, not all of us are expert weavers, but our expert weaver has helped create some great boxes over there. I'm holding a box from the red bin, which is for toddlers and young children. And it enables them to practice the hand movements of weaving that are age appropriate. And it allows them to button, tie, and over-under movements. And if they get frustrated, they can always stop and try another time. Now for elementary students and beginners, there's a blue bin, and I'm sure adults can use these too if you need to stay focused. Weaving, they have those old style plastic looms. I don't know if anyone remembers those when we made pot holders. I know I made a whole bunch for my mom. So you weave on a plastic loom with pre-cut t-shirt material, and that really helps increase the success and ability to begin learning how to weave. Then for experienced weavers, there's a yellow bin, and I believe yarn that they can use as well, that's in a little pink bin. It has everything you need. So there's a wooden loom with pre-strung warps, which is the foundation of the fabric, and it lets weavers choose the weft, which is creating the pattern. I have a lot to learn. Use a hairpin as a shuttle to carry the weft yarn back and forth through the warp threads to create a pattern. So again, this is what will be essentially the theme for our children and youth, but they are resources that others can use as well. Thank you all very much.
The warp threads go this way, the weft threads go that way. Welcome, I'm sorry? Welcome to Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Connie Diamant, and I'm happy to be your worship associate today. If you're new to Accotink, look around. If you're not new to Accotink, rather, look around. Do you see people you haven't met or spoken to in a while? These people, like you, and want to meet you. Help us live up to our mission of being a welcoming and inclusive spiritual home for all by reaching out and making a connection. By visiting this congregation, newcomers are in transition, and people in transition are more open to new friendships. That means that your new friend may be among us this morning, and this is your chance to get to know them. Whether you're a longtime member or a newcomer or something in between, we encourage you to stay for our social hour online and in person immediately after the service. We're so delighted that you could join us today, and welcome.
So this month we've been exploring hope, specifically choosing hope. And we're going to continue that exploration today and throughout the month. I'm really excited and hope you'll join us for our Christmas Eve service. That's on Christmas Eve at 4 p.m. We'll have our candle lighting, and we don't always get to have the choir on Christmas Eve, but this year we have the choir performing. Yeah. It's a really beautifully contemplative service, and I really encourage you, as well as family friendly, I really encourage you to come and join us on Christmas Eve. And then we'll have what could be considered a complete opposite with our Saturnalia service, which is going to be full of raucous fun next Sunday. So I encourage you to come to that as well, and it's going to be participatory service and also family friendly. And then I want to let people know, I know that the new year you might think, oh, I don't know if I want to come back to church right away, but I think you do. On Sunday, January 4th, because we're going to we always have our multi-generational service on that first Sunday, but this one is going to be riffing off the play and the two movies of Wicked. So we're going to lift up, there's a lot of anti-authoritarian themes in that movie, and we're going to explore those together. So I hope that you will join us for that. Some good news to share with you. Thank you to John Peterson, our social justice chair, for these bits of good news. A routine shingles vaccine lowers the chance of getting dementia by 20% and by more than 20% in women, and it seems to slow the progress of dementia for those who already have it. That's some good news, isn't it? Also, the American Library Association has touted a massive win after previously revoked federal funding for libraries and museums was reinstated recently nationwide. So we share that good news so that we continue to choose hope. And in the service today, we'll explore how choosing hope is rooted in our commitment to the flourishing of each and every person, and how hope is an opportunity that the uncertainty of the future gives to us. And we'll also look to the past for some wisdom and inspiration about how to do that going forward. So with that, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in our chalice lighting words describing how we put love at the center of Unitarian Universalism through the value of equity that calls us to help every person flourish with dignity. All together. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. As an expression of the value of equity, we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. we are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love.
Senator Warner, this is Janet Clement from Fairfax, Virginia. I'm calling to ask you to
When the song of the angels is still, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins.
We're doing something a little bit different. Today we usually have a meditation song, but today we're going to sing a song of reflection. It's going to act as, we also usually have a reading right before the sermon, but this song is acting as our reading, and we're all going to do it together. So I invite you to please rise in body or in spirit. This song is from our new Unitarian Universalist online hymnal, Sing Out Love. You'll see that the slides look different than normal. These are the slides provided by that hymnal. The words are by Kendall Gibbons, who's written a number of UU hymns, and the music is by Carson Kuhlman.
Call on the prophets before us, call on the wise ones of old, call on the ancestors' chorus, call on the witnesses bold. These in their lives were faithful, nobly they reasoned and strove, who were servants of justice, who were servants of love. Labor in friendship and laughter, labor to reap and to sow, labor for worlds that come after, labor to learn and to grow. True community building, promise of kinship to prove, in the service of justice, in the service of love. Light of the stars full of wonder, light of the chalice's ride, light of ideals now to ponder, light of the truth to abide. Shine through our doubt and illusion, pour out of grace from above, for the serving of justice, for the serving of love. Bring us together in welcome, bring us together in care, bring us together in freedom, bring us together in prayer. Make us a covenant people, vision of hope on the move. Make us servants of justice, make us servants of love.
When I was in high school, my English teacher at Sandy Spring Friends School over in Olney, Maryland, the other side, of DC from here. My English teacher, David Kahn, gave us an essay assignment, one that he gave students every year. We were to write an essay on whether human nature is inherently good or inherently evil. I hated that assignment. I hated it because I went to him and I said, "Can I write that it's both?" And he said, "No. No, you have to choose. You couldn't say both, you couldn't say neither. You had to choose, and then you had to give evidence to back it up." Now, looking back, I do think it's a useful exercise because there are very influential worldviews rooted in the idea that human nature is inherently evil, and contrasting worldviews rooted in the idea that human nature is inherently good. And those worldviews cause different groups of people to structure or want to structure society in different ways. But I still hate the assignment today because it's just not true. It's just not true that human nature is good or evil. That's the same mistake that Rebecca Solnit illustrates when she talks about optimism and pessimism being two sides of the same coin, both of which lead us not to take action because we've decided the outcome for good or ill is already set in stone. I'll say more on that in a moment. Human beings and human societies have the potential for doing great good and for perpetuating terrible evils. Because this is true, it's up to us to cultivate compassion instead of responding to the reality of pain with cruelty. It's up to us to nurture gratitude and generosity instead of responding to abundance and scarcity with selfishness and greed. And it's up to us to choose hope again and again and again. The future is uncertain, and that means we can be a part of shaping it, changing it for the better, changing it for good. That was a preview of the Wicked service that will happen in January, by the way. Changing it for better, changing it for good. Now, whenever I engage with hope, I seem to come back to the writer Rebecca Solnit. Last Sunday, I spoke about blue hope and green hope, two ways of looking at hope that come from Mara Vanderloog's book, Hopeful Pessimism. Now, Solnit does a similar thing. She contrasts hope with optimism and pessimism, writing, "Optimism assumes that all will go well without our effort. Pessimism assumes it's all irredeemable. Both let us stay home and do nothing." And Solnit contrasts this with a hope rooted in the fact that the future is uncertain, unpredictable, unknown, and in this uncertainty, that uncertainty is the hope because it's where we have the possibility to take action and to shape the future. Here's more in Solnit's own words about this. "Hope for me has meant a sense that the future is unpredictable and that we don't actually know what will happen, but know we may be able to write it ourselves. Hope is a belief that what we do might matter, and understanding that the future is not yet written. Hope looks forward, but it draws its energies from the past, from knowing histories, including our victories and their complexities and imperfections." We find this call to look to the past in the hymn that we sang moments ago. Call on the prophets before us, call on the wise ones of old, call on the ancestors' chorus, call on those witnesses bold. We can look to history for many examples of how human beings, joined together in solidarity, have engaged in the act of choosing hope. Looking to history, we can remind ourselves of the many movements that have seen the possibility for change and worked to make it a reality. The Underground Railroad, the Montgomery bus boycott, the march from Montgomery to Selma, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, Black Lives Matter with its sustained protest in Ferguson in 2014 and throughout 2020. We can look to Stonewall and the subsequent gay liberation movement, the marriage equality movement. We can look to Standing Rock and the many Native American resistance actions that preceded it, the 19-month occupation of Alcatraz from 1969 to 1971, and of Wounded Knee in 1973, the trail of broken treaties with its week-long occupation of the Department of the Interior in 1972. Notice that those are all building on each other. Standing Rock doesn't happen without those earlier actions. And it seems like those occupations may have influenced the Occupy movement in 2011 with its occupation of Zuccotti Park in New York City and the many offshoots around the nation and the world protesting wealth inequality and too much power in the hands of corporations. These are just a few examples from here in the United States. There are many more examples throughout the world. The Arab Spring in 2010, the People Power Revolution in the Philippines that overthrew the Marcos dictatorship in 1986, the movement that ended apartheid in South Africa, before that, India's independence movement. These movements were not isolated from each other, but rather influenced each other, often over long spans of time and distance. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s nonviolent resistance in our civil rights movement was influenced by Mahatma Gandhi, who had read Leo Tolstoy, who had been inspired by Henry David Thoreau's essay on civil disobedience. You see, it all comes back to the Unitarians one way or another. Solnit, drawing on the work of L.A. Kaufman, tells the story of two protests of nuclear power plants in the 1970s. One in New Hampshire, one in California, both of which failed to stop the opening of the nuclear power plants they were protesting. But these failures were not just failures. They inspired anti-nuclear groups across the country who would go on to stop over 100 nuclear projects planned over the next several years while raising public awareness and changing public opinion about nuclear power. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, because the model of resistance used in those two unsuccessful protests became the model for many future organizations and actions, including the AIDS activist group ACT UP. That model isn't the focus of this sermon, but in brief, it can be described this way: nonviolent direct action guided by consensus decision-making methods that offer everyone's voice. Nonviolent direct action, consensus-making decision-making, consensus-based decision-making. Once again, it comes back to Unitarian Universalism. You know, we joke about everything has to go to committee, but committees are how we practice that consensus decision-making that keeps all voices, that includes all voices, keeps them all in the conversation. Now, that consensus methodology has even deeper roots than just those anti-nuclear protests. It has roots in feminism and even before that in the Quaker tradition. And Solnit also connects Gandhi's nonviolent methods to the inspiration of the women's suffrage movement, which was in turn inspired by the anti-slavery movement that preceded it. Here is how Solnit summarizes this process. For many groups, movements, and uprisings, there are spin-offs, daughters, domino effects, chain reactions, new models and examples and templates and toolboxes that emerge from the experiments. And every round of activism is an experiment whose results can be applied to other situations. To be hopeful, we need not only to embrace uncertainty, but to be willing to know that the consequences may be immeasurable, may be still unfolding. Think of hope as a banner woven from those gossamer threads, from a sense of the interconnection of all things, of the lasting effect of the best actions, not only the worst, of an indivisible world in which everything matters. As we choose hope again and again and again, we are not alone. We are part of a living tradition. We can call on the prophets before us, on the wise one of old, of the ancestors' chorus. We can call on those witnesses bold. Together we can labor in friendship and laughter, laboring for worlds that will come. So may we come together in welcome. May we come together in care. May we come together in freedom. May we come together in prayer. Make us a covenant people, vision and hope on the move, in the service of justice, in the service of love. May it be so, and may we be among those who make it so.
March on, 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 march on. March on! Teach us, march on! Teach us, teach us! 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 Teach us! Sing us, teach us! Sing us, sing 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 us!
That song is from the group Sweet Honey in the Rock, who has two main composers, Bernice Johnson Reagan, who's not a Unitarian Universalist, but also Isaiah Marie Barnwell, who wrote the song you just heard, who is a Unitarian Universalist. I mean, I'm just saying. There is, maybe we'll find a time to sing it another year. There is Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song that names all the famous Jews. There is a UU version or song like that lifts up all the Unitarian Universalists, or many Unitarian Universalists. By the way, shout out to Hanukkah that's happening right now for those of you who light Hanukkah candles.
Please rise now in body and spirit and join us in our closing words. As we extinguish our chalice, I invite you to join me now in our community blessing with these words of David Bumbaugh, slightly adapted. This church is dedicated to the proposition that by celebrating our differences and embracing our diversity, we honor the unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time, death, and the space between the stars. We pause now in silent witness to that unity. Now that we've gathered together in this welcoming and inclusive spiritual home, let us go out in the world inspired to share our values.